I didn't use any quick symbolism. You know, I tried to use something that would be actually non-offensive, and in theory, people won't actually object to. Just having as it four numbers. And the initial proposal was to create a stencil that I would use amounts of material, leave it on the hillside for a period of time, and then when it was taken off, you'd have this yellowing of the grass, which seemed to be a nice organic way of actually creating it. And that was okayed by the council. And they said, well, in theory it sounds fine, but it's really down to the farmers who want to graze the land. If they're happy and they won't interfere with the sheep, fine. So there's actually two main farming families in Barley who have the right to graze on the hill. I spoke to them about the material law, which actually proved to be true. So I started looking at other options. I asked if I could actually scorch the ground. No, because Natural England won't allow it. I couldn't actually plant anything. You can't actually put fencing up. I wanted to actually have this notion of actually having the numbers outlined with actually fencing, and then leave the sheep inside those areas. Again, that wasn't an option. And residents, and this was back in March. Unfortunately for me, the evening of the meeting, my son decided to actually put a spike right through his hand, which ended up, I was in A&E with him for the whole evening, and actually missed this meeting. But the result was, it wasn't well received at all. There was a few people who seemed to think it was a nice idea, but the message was that most of the presents were actually opposed to it. It would be viewed as tantamount to graffiti. Well, I hadn't really been exposed to this sort of negative attitude at all, because everyone that I'd met thought, great idea, when's it going to happen? And it completely threw me. There was then a steering group of which I was actually a member of, about all of this year's celebrations, and the conversation went as I half expected, that he would back it as long as there was a link to us in more houses, which ironically he wanted a witch. So he was quite keen to pay for it as long as I put a witch on the hill. I said, well, I'm sorry, but that was never my intention. Not an option. The main sports people for the hill and said, look, I appreciate that you have actually backed me all along. If I say that I won't paint it, but I find another option, you know, another material option that will only be there for the day almost, which will just involve a whole lot of help. Do you object to that? He said no. He said that's marked on circles, almost creating a giant dot-to-dot. And the plan was that no one apart from the landowner and the foreman knew what was going ahead. You know, as far as the council were concerned, everywhere else, the project had died. And the plan was that on the day, with a whole lot of help, I would actually literally do a giant dot-to-dot. And as the mist did lift, whoa, you know, it is there. I mean, as a hand, use material has proved to be far more effective because I had that painted. It would have taken me a week at least. It's a very slow process, and it's obviously completely dictated by the weather. You can't do it in the wet, and you can't do it if it's only rained the day before. So I mean, this summer has proved to be an absolute nightmare. So it is gravestones, and trying to find a style that, one, I could work with, and two, was of that era as well. And that's how I found the horizontal. I did piles of stones, and then I came back to Aching Wood, and then trying to see past the eye if it was level.
That's a great picture.
Half the funding you were
Yes, yeah.
Were the Arts Council still in it, or they said too that they would pull back because they didn't have much funding?
But I told them that I can't have a time-lapse film because it won't be as was originally proposed, which was meant to be a stencil, tick it off, and then see it turn back to me. But said I was going to try and find an alternative. They said, well, just basically keep us informed. But I guess because it wasn't a huge amount, they're just sort of happy for me to try to do something, and just said, look, if it ends up that there's nothing going to happen, we'll inform us. But so I was hell bent on making sure something happened, even if I did it illegally.
Anything that surprises me, and I'm wondering if there's just an issue about an artist on their own trying to deliver something like that on your own.
Yeah, but I also feel now afterwards that I think they just thought it wasn't actually possible. Because I remember at the actual Western Parish Council, one of the councillors, it turns out it comes from an advertising and graphics background. I said, I'm not going to let help anybody this weekend. I said, I'm absolutely spent, and I was. I've been up since bloody 4. I hadn't slept that Friday night.
So what time did you start on Saturday morning? You started at
first
dawn,
light.
At first light, which was what,
Yeah.
about 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
And you finished at what time on Saturday?
11 o'clock.
At night?
No, in the morning, which was right on cue for when the Pendle Witches did their walk towards Pendle.
They did like a record-breaking attempt to get as many witches on Pendle that day.
I'm obviously, I've been
I'm 8 miles away having breakfast. But it was really funny, because we didn't know you were doing it in material that stage. We thought you were painting it, and we were like, it's going on fairly fast, that.
It's a big roller.
If I answered the pictures again, I thought it was all white, solid, the numbers. So I picked up a wrong.
That's how it was on the original.
Well, that's my memories of it, not sort
impression.
of just being all filled in.
But even the day after, because I took all the shots from as he trod an area, the day after a white colour, I get meeting people, taking photos of it, which was obviously quite surreal, and actually hearing people actually have conversations. I think I might actually have an image around it somewhere.
Because unless you have somebody that's really good and confident, and it is a big, it's an amazing piece of work. All the issues you talked about were going to happen, and anybody who had experience of doing something like that, so unless you've got good curatorial staff who've done interesting projects with ambition and scale or provocative, they are going to run. And so the more those resources get put in those people's hands, the more you're going to end up with very conservative work.
Or no work at all.
Or no work at all.
I don't think
it's amazing that you stuck with it.
No.
It's that kind of staying power.
I mean, the biggest problem that Philippe has had is the reaction from politicians.
But I feel very strongly about this. There's also something about politicians will be taken on a journey if you take them on a journey. And if you're confident enough to take people, it's a Superland Banana story. Everyone will love Superland Banana. They didn't for 5 years, but you have to have somebody who will